I got a question. What do you do if you've been playing for like ages, or at least a long time in your own perspective, and you seem to not develop? What are you going to do? What is the key to really breaking out of that plateau? It might have been for a month, it might have been for a year, it might have been several years where you just think, it's like, I've always been here, right? On this level. How do you break out of that, and how do you do it fast so you can start really having that enthusiasm and passion around practicing again? My name is Claus, and please subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, and go download our free course by clicking the link in the description. So what's the key? The key is a total shift in our mindset. I'm just going to touch on a couple of things here, but please stay with me, because I'm sure that some of this will resonate with you at such a level that you might actually find the way back to that amazing passion that really drives us to practice and believe that we can get to a very special place, a magical place of skill. The first thing I would say is that when we start out practicing guitar, we learn a lot of things, and we have to, right? You have to play some chords, so you have to learn how to put your fingers on the fretboard. That's one thing, right? Then you have to learn the strumming part, right? How do you do that without sounding like, with your thumb? Well, how do you learn? So you have to learn some strumming patterns. You have to learn to place your fingers here, and it's all very hard, right? You also have to learn rhythm, which is totally separate from this instrument. It's just something we have to learn while we go bow, da 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 da, triplets and quadruplets and 16 notes. We have to be able to play those while our foot is tapping. So there are so many things we have to learn. So focusing on all kinds of stuff in the beginning is really cool, because you will pretty rapidly, if you break through the initial barrier of having to learn so much to just sound decent on this instrument, if you break through that, then you can actually play some music, right? You can have some fun, not just practicing, but playing. But once you've been practicing for some time, you've been using the same freaking formula, which it begins with being really constructive and really productive. And then later on, it becomes an absolute disaster. It becomes the worst thing you can do when you practice, is having that kind of scattered focus around so many things. And I see so many guitar teachers preach this practice routine, this daily practice routine, which will keep you in mediocrity for the rest of your life. You pick up your guitar and you have this ultimate practice routine that was taught from some, star of the industry, where you practice rhythm, you practice chords, you practice soloing, you practice notes, you practice scale shapes, you practice techniques, a little bit of alternate picking, a little bit of sweep picking, key exercises in every area, and you never ever progress beyond mediocre. That is a fact. It will never take you to the place you want to go. It works in the beginning, and that's what trips us up. So we just live with this philosophy of, since there's a lot to learn, we have to focus on a lot every day. Because your brain needs something else than generalities. You need to take something and say, okay, here's the process. This is what I want you to do. I want you to figure out what would excite you the most to learn. What if you master just one area of guitar playing, like rhythm guitar, like soloing, like whatever area, and then beyond that area or below that main area, what would excite you the most to master? Like if it was soloing, is it blues soloing? Is it like shredding, playing fast? Is it, in what style are we talking? And then boil it down even further, so you get to something you can really focus on. Because what happens is, instead of having this horizon of that's packed with different areas of guitar playing, you got rhythm, you got chords, you got soloing, and you got scales, and you got alternate picking, so on, all the techniques. Instead of having that long run, you take the horizon and you make it a triangle. And I need you to put something on top of that triangle and say everything else below this point here at the top of the triangle. Let's say this is soloing. Let's say you want to learn to just rip off a perfect blues solo. You might want to learn jazz soloing. You might want to learn metal soloing or rock soloing. But you've decided that if you can, because blues is so fundamental to so many styles, if you can just play just play blues and you play it amazingly. It's relatively simple when it comes to techniques and chord progressions and so on. So it's a really cool area to focus on. But let's say you select that and say, I want to become a master of that. I want to be able to play a blues solo completely improvised. And nobody on this planet wouldn't say, hey, he's a master of that, a total absolute master. He doesn't sound like a beginner. He doesn't sound like one who's not in control, or she. It's absolutely perfect. That's on your top of the triangle. Let's just say it's that, right? And then underneath there, what does that consist of? Well, you got rhythm skills, don't you? And then all the other skills, scales, techniques, chords, arpeggios, everything else supports reaching this point. If you want to learn arpeggios, you learn it to be able to play amazing blues solos. If you want to learn rhythm, you learn it to be able to play amazing blues solos. If you want to learn scales, you learn it to play, and so on, right? So you are a singular focused machine that's only focused on one thing. And that thing becomes your obsession. It becomes like, hey, it's gonna be so cool when I pull out my guitar and I'll just say, let me get an A blues over there or an E blues from the drummer and the bassist, and then you just rip it. And you imagine standing on stage and just being able to do that, or just with the guys you're playing with, and you imagine their faces. Well, that was an amazing solo, right? Like Joe Bonamassa, whoever is your top player in that area, that's what you're aiming for. And everything else you learn is below that, is supporting that, is taking you there. So you know why you're doing it. So instead of having that horizon of skills, suddenly it becomes like this, and then you become focused. The next question I want you to ask yourself is the following, because that's focus, right? Let's be even more focused. To break out. This is like an icebreaker, like something that can push through all the mediocrity of having stayed on the same skill level for a couple of years, right? But then I want you to say, okay, what is the main thing that keeps me back from actually being able to play that amazing blues solo? And that is a question that you can use to spend some time pondering. I would say generally, for most people, 9 out of 10 people, whatever it is that you think is holding you back is probably not it, because it's rhythm skills, right? If you can play like 4 notes of the blues scale, right? There's nothing fast in here. There's a phrase, right? There's some phrasing stuff, but it's only 4 notes. So, okay, I don't need to learn to play scales. I can do 16 bars of this. Right? I can just go on with these 4 notes if I got enough rhythm skills, right? And that's what keeps most people back. That's also the reason why you suddenly stumble when you play, because you can't find your way in the rhythm. If you a guitar solo is like a long drum solo, really. Boo da ba di do do ba do do ba do ga ba da 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 ra da 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 ga ba do ba 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 di da ah. Right? If you can't do that with your mouth, as you keep the pulse with your hands, you have a task. And you can never play a blues solo and a rhythm guitar piece, anything. You can only play it to the level where you have your rhythm skills at. So that's in general the weakest link in most people's playing. So you can think about that, right? That's a way to focus. And say, okay, if I have, I got some scale skills, I got some alternate picking, I got some phrasing skills, but if I learned to do the rhythm skills, if I had them at the highest level, these other skills that I know pretty well would just suddenly come to their full expression, right? Then what is the next weakest link, right? What is the next thing that is keeping you back from mastering this area? And you might say, okay, you're listening to other people and say, okay, it's my technique. I can do slow stuff. I can do a ballad for, and I can. When I'm at that tempo, it's really good. I can keep it up, right? But as soon as I have to play faster and think faster or express myself faster, I lack the skills, right? I make mistakes all the time. Okay, so I have to work on my technique. Okay, what is the technique that would mean the most to my soloing skills then? Is it alternate picking? Is it legato? Would that take me the furthest, the fastest if I learned legato and really went crazy on that for 1, 2, 3 months, right? Just focus on that like an obsession. Would that be the one thing that is holding me back more than anything else? You need to really ponder this and look at it and say, okay, what is it that he does so much better than me? Could that be the limiting factor in reaching that point, the top of the triangle, right? Once you have that under control, let's say it's your technique and you start, and you're really good at legato, and that's so cool, but then suddenly you find out that the next level is really about phrasing, for instance, right? That you feel uncomfortable when you do vibrato. You can hear that you sound like an amateur as soon as you hold a note, right? Compared to the other guys you listen to out there. Listening to yourself and comparing to yourself to other players is really key to getting these insights and where is it that I'm lacking. But it's always a matter, not just about, see, I can learn that and I can learn that and I could do this and do that. It's about you asking yourself, what's the limiting factor, right? Like another example is that if you play a run or a lick, right? There's a ton of different stuff in a lick. You got alternate picking, sweep picking, whatever it is, and you got phrasing information. And most people just practice the lick over and over again. And 80% of the lick they know really well, and then the 20% is where it's really tough. But we play the whole lick, which means that we are effectively wasting 80% of our time, right? Because we play the whole lick. Let's say I have like a lick and my real problem is if the lick goes, right? If the lick goes I don't need to play all the freaking thing. I know the other things, right? So where is the weakest link? Where is the limiting factor in that lick? Then you design an exercise and then you loop around that limiting factor until you bring it up to the level of everything else. It is key. It's the way to be intelligent about what you practice. And it's the way to create something that's hugely effective. A focus that's hugely effective, right? I hope this makes sense. But it really is really simple once you get used to thinking like this. So just imagine again, you're at a plateau, you don't know how to break out, you cut the crap, with the generalities about practicing everything a little every day or a little every week. And then you say, what is the most magical, what would be the most amazing skill to have within guitar playing? And then you say, okay, what's keeping me from getting there mostly? I say rhythm because that's a general thing. I don't know you, I haven't seen you play, but rhythm is a really good thing to say. Could it be rhythm? If I mastered that, would then my playing transform completely, right? And then you say more specifically to me, what might be the limiting factor? And then you work on that incessantly, right? That's the way, because some people say, with all that focus loss, there's so many things I want to become good at. I can't reserve 3 months to just learn alternate picking or spend an entire year focusing on rhythm, which you don't need to, by the way. But you're not doing that. You're not focusing on rhythm for an entire year. Maybe you're using, an intense 3 months, and then you practice as you go, right? When you cook, when you take the bus or drive your car, you drum rhythms all the time without your instruments, or you practice like effectively 3 or 4 hours a day without ever touching your guitar. But it's not about that. It's about you're not practicing rhythm. You're practicing soloing. You're just working on the most intelligent, most consequential part of soloing to you at that moment. So that means that you're practicing everything. You're just practicing the limiting factor, right? I really hope this makes sense, because it's so important to get it, because it is what takes you out of a rut, out of the rut we all get into. And it takes you out of the trap that most people are in, where we think we have to practice everything. Right? Physically practice everything every day or every week. What we need to do is focus on the limiting factor and then kill it and have that goal, that magical place we want to arrive at. And everything you then do from then on is to get to that goal. Even when you're practicing rhythm guitar, right? You're practicing rhythm in order for you to be able to... Right? That's rhythm guitar. But because I'm so good at it, then I can play single note lines in between because I don't lose my place in the rhythm. Okay, there's no licks in this video, I'm sorry, but this was an important talk. Thank you for the question. If you got any questions that's really burning to have an answer to, send me an email on our website, or just comment below the video. I'm reading every single comment. So hope to see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe.